Well, I'm back again with another phenomenal, amazing guest. She's fairly new to me, but we're learning amazing things. Billie is from Vancouver, and we met through a mutual group that we are a part of, and where we're published authors, and we're also sharing all of our information and our magic and the work that we do across the globe. And so we were inspired to sit down on this podcast and have a deeper conversation. I'll give you a little idea here. So, Go Mindspire is what Billie has developed over the last few years. It's really amazing work, and you're going to get to hear a bit about that. She's an international speaker, she travels all over the place. She is also a published author. She's a trainer in NLP, and there's some more that she's adding to that recently. Timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, which is amazing. Master mindset, results mindset coach as well. International real estate investor, which I'm really curious to learn a bit more about. She's a single mom. She's also a dog mom, which is awesome.
Yep.
Amazing. So all of the pieces, and she's gone from some very traditional expectations and roles in her life into many different places in her life to bring her to the journey that's brought her to where she is now and into her work and her passion project. And we want to learn more about it. So I would love to hear more about your journey and some more of the details that maybe I've just kind of jumped over a little bit so that you can share them with everybody in your authentic way. So, welcome.
Thank you, Ryo. I mean, how much time do we have? Because I got a lot to say. However, I will Coles Notes version it. First of all, thank you for having me. I know we connected through that group, and instantly it's so cool just connecting with people. And you're like, yep, I know I want to talk to that one. Yep, I want to connect with that one. And it's this
Yeah.
connection that we're resonating with each other. It's all about frequency and vibration, and I've been noticing a lot more how I connect so much easier with people because my frequency has raised, and I've done a lot of my personal work because it always starts with self first. And life is just like it's beautiful. Like all these beautiful souls are coming forward and all having all these amazing conversations with people. And really that's what it's about is just sharing stories and hearing what people have been through so that hopefully something in that story can inspire someone and spark one little shift that can change the trajectory of their life. Because that's how it happens for all of us, right?
Yes.
I met a
Yep.
hypnotherapist just at a networking event when I was doing some health coaching and never met a hypnotherapist before. And I was like, okay, cool. I know you do some mind stuff. I don't know what it is. To me, it was just like the stage stuff. And I said, I'm like, hey, can you come and do some whatever you do? I had no idea what she did really.
Yeah.
So can you, I know it was like to do with the mind. And I was like, can you do some whatever mind magic stuff with my clients? Because a lot of them think they're going to lose 40 pounds in 2 weeks. Like there's something missing there. Right. And so she came in and she did it. She did all her stuff. And she's like, Billie, do you want a session? And I was like, sure, I'll always try everything once. And I couldn't believe how different I felt in one session. And, like you didn't mention, but I've been a police officer for 20 years. So we are meant
Yes.
to go to therapy. And
Yes.
in 20 years of therapy, probably longer than that, because I was going to therapy before that too, I never felt a shift like that in one session. And then I
Wow.
asked her, I'm like, what happened? Like, what did you do? She's like, well, I tapped into your unconscious mind. And I literally, like, I don't know if I can swear, but I literally was like, does that mean?
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is how new I was to this world. There's a little voice. I knew, I know there's a higher, like I have very little, baby spirituality in my life. And then I just literally became like insatiable with knowledge. I'm like, if that can happen in one session, what else could happen? And it
Wow.
sent me down this road. And like, again, the universe provides, right? Like when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and every little breadcrumb led me to now being a teacher of it myself. And people are asking me, like, you only started this work like at the beginning of 2023, and you're already teaching it. And the way that you speak it, I can speak like, our biggest course is 13 days long, like straight for 13 days. And
Wow.
it's because I've embodied it.
Yes.
And that's the difference with working with the unconscious mind as opposed to the conscious mind when you're learning things, is that you're not embodying it because everything's still the same up there.
Hmm.
This is what shifted for me. And really, as I'm sure you know, anything that you know is already within you. It's just
Yeah.
about opening it up and remembering it.
Yeah.
Man, girl, stuff's coming in online so fast. I'm like, it is so beautiful to watch. My life has completely shifted. My real estate that I wasn't even actually considered myself a real estate investor until again shifted my mindset around it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm a real estate investor. I have properties. I didn't even think of myself in that way. And of course,
Mhm.
the universe brought more resources. And I shifted some things around. I learned some things. Of course, you have to learn the gaps. Like I needed to learn some new strategies. Did that within 6 months, financially free, just like that. And that is what getting out of your own way means. It's
Yes.
ourselves that we think, oh, it's because I was born into a traditional East Indian family. It's because I was raised being told I couldn't do stuff because I was a girl. Oh, it's because of this, girls aren't supposed to be in business. Oh, it's because of this, I'm just supposed to, I was born and bred to be married and have kids. That was the narrative that I was playing because I chose to believe it,
Mhm.
right? I chose to believe all those things.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was living my life with those belief systems. And as soon as I shifted those and realized, wait a minute, I don't have, that's not mine. That was given to me by my family. And, no, they did the best they could,
Yeah.
moving from India and first generation born here. I don't blame them anymore. I used to. Before
Yeah.
that feeling, I was very resentful and very angry and very hurt. And now I'm like, nope, they did all those things because I needed to become who I needed to become.
Yes.
Needed to be powerful. I needed to be strong. And it led me to policing, which now, 20 years of dealing with trauma, nothing phases me. So now it allows me to do this work even more powerfully because I can hold the space for anything. Because again, I've seen it all. And so, yeah, basically, I don't know if I dense that enough into I'm retiring from policing this year. I've launched my own academy called Amplify Impact Academy with my training partner, Melissa Deely, and I am absolutely loving this work. It is not work for me, it is service. And I get to do what fuels me every single day, which really was my dream all along.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was going to mention the 20 years in RCMP, but I'm glad
Not
you brought it in.
RCMP.
Or policing, sorry. City police. A little bit
It
different
is.
but not at the same time. It's I mean, I guess we have
It's
more
just an inside
RCMP up
joke.
here.
Municipal cops never want to be called Mounties. So it's
No.
just,
No. So it's definitely, like you said, there's nothing that you haven't seen, nothing that you haven't, witnessed, nothing that you haven't lived in life that has nothing phases you. And I love that your journey from that, from the bottom, and from that not being seen or heard, or that feeling of unworthiness and not being accepted for who you are, given those belief systems, given those values, and waking up through all of that and going, actually, they're not mine. I don't have to carry that. And it's interesting, so many of us in this very large realm of work that we're in, whether it's intuition, it's energy work, it's holistic healing at all levels, and all the training, all the things that you're doing, we all come with those pieces. And as we let go, I think, like you said, you needed to go through what you went through to be where you are now, to be able to be of service and to be able to offer this work. That's why that one session was so incredibly powerful. I got full body goosebumps, and not everybody will experience that the first time, but you were ready. Your unconscious was ready to embody that and say, "Here, I'm giving you a gift. I'm going to show you, and it's going to be really powerful." So you're so determined to also, and break all of these cycles and the generational trauma and find your magnificence, as you say. And how are you, like, what was it like when you really first got in touch with that piece of you? What did it feel like? What did it run us through that experience? And it's like an awakening of your really deep soulful self going, I'm here to do the work. Let's go.
what a beautiful question. There was, I've had so many of these moments since then. But
Yeah.
one that really stuck out at the beginning, obviously, was when the shift I felt with working with the hypnotherapist. One of the other ones was I actually now teach this as well. It's called magnified healing. It is from Kuan Yin. I'm not sure if you know who Kuan Yin is, Mother of Mercy, of compassion, forgiveness, and mercy. And when I took this course, they mentioned it, and I was like, magnified healing. I don't even know what that is. And again, I'm just like, if I go, and that's the one thing I really love about myself is like, I listen and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just going to go. I'm like, yes, girl. Like, okay, it sounds great. Let me do it. I'll figure it out. Like people tell me like I'm the person that jumps off the cliff and figures out the parachute on the way down. Like, I'll
Yeah.
figure it out, I'll figure it out. And so I did that and I was like, okay, magnified and healing. I want healing. And if it's magnified, I'll take it. Sign me up. Right. That was pretty much the extent.
Yeah.
Anyways, this course obviously went up into the higher realms. I don't recommend doing that first because it kind of literally, my brain fell out of my ears. It just melted after that course because it was going up into the higher realms. And for someone that's been in the 3D world her whole life,
Yeah.
it was a lot for me. However,
Mhm.
again, like you said, I was ready and I think I was open enough that I got what I needed. And there was one moment when the way that it was described, that what we sign up for here when we come here to Earth School, I was like, oh, all these things just went boop, 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 everything connected. I was like, oh my God. Of course my family had to do that. Of course this had to happen. All these things, I'm getting chills because all
Yeah, me too.
all the dots started connecting. I'm like, oh my God. And here I've been mad about it. And I'm the one who signed up for it. I chose to do that. The problem was I wasn't learning my lesson. So the lesson got bigger and bigger and bigger and louder and more painful until I had to have the ultimate, like betrayal's been the theme of my life because guess what? I was here to learn forgiveness.
Yeah.
And and then all these things, I'm like, yep, never learned it because I was blaming them. Nope, never learned it because I was mad. Nope, never learned it. All these reasons just popped up in my head. I was like, oh my gosh. And instantly, Raya, my resentment, poof, gone.
Wow.
Gone.
That's beautiful.
I couldn't believe how quickly my whole model of the world shifted completely from that one understanding of how the realms work and how the world works and what our purpose is and what our mission is. And obviously, again, just put me into deeper into it. I'm like, I want to learn more about that. I want to learn more about this. And literally, I'm, I'm the amount of energy I'm putting into my own personal growth right now. I couldn't believe it. Like people are like, Billy, how are you doing all these things? I'm like, I don't know. I want to do it all. I'm starting my doctorate in metaphysical science. I never thought I would ever do that in my life. And because I know the power of this work. And I want to get to the point where I'm not, and I will never have all the answers. I will never say that. Enough answers that I can speak to it from a place of alignment and embodiment that people won't question it. Cause that's the thing. A lot of people
Yes.
question it and say, well, if it's that easy, it must not work. I literally, Brya, have
Yeah.
an easy button on my desk because the amount of times I hear this from people after they go through like timeline therapy and all that, they're like, that was easy. I'm like, I know. It's supposed to be easy. We're doing it all wrong. Life isn't supposed to be hard. If it's hard, you're doing it wrong. Not to
Yeah.
be mistaken for effort. I put a lot of effort into my life. A
That's different. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
except it's not hard. I'm not banging my head up against things because I'm not fighting against myself.
No,
The
exactly.
times we're like fighting against ourselves, which is why what we teach in our work is like, let's just get your conscious mind and your unconscious mind in rapport with each other, working for the same team. Life will be so much more smoother. You won't be having that internal battle. And that's really what it is. It's that
Yeah.
internal chatter that most people think, oh, it's because of this. It's like, no, it's actually inside. It's the programming.
Yeah.
It's all the belief systems, the strategies, all that programming that was put into us in those first 6-7 years of life when we didn't have a critical faculty. We didn't have that analytical mind to say, hey, that's not mine. And then when we're older, our inner 5-year-old is still running our life and people are like, I don't know why I keep destroying my life. I'm like, I don't know, let's figure that out.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's fascinating, and we live in a society and a world right now that is super fast paced, super disconnected, super distracted. And
I'm
so
so frustrated.
it's like we're taken away from our being, our body, our
Yeah.
like we're living two separate pieces. And when you bring the subconscious mind and the conscious mind together, it's an amazing pairing because of that disconnect. And I always say, we're here to disconnect to reconnect. So we're disconnecting from the expectations, the busyness, the loud, the noise, the chaos, the craziness, like, because there's a lot out there, the limiting beliefs, that all the patterns, all the pieces. So if we can disconnect from those, even press pause on all of that and come into ourselves and reconnect to our soul, to our spirit, to our purpose, to our being. And I do a lot of my work through nature and the elements and the seasons and the reconnection, because we are nature, we come from nature, right? So bringing ourselves back to that, and you're helping people too with, you know, with the neuroplasticity and looking at the neural pathways in our brain and going, yeah, maybe you trained it one way, but guess what? You can train it a new way, and you can learn new things and do new things. And saying, by saying yes to all the things. I remember going down to the 365 big event that Shelly had last year. And I remember being asked, I'm like, I don't know what it is, but yes. And then I'm like, well, what did I just say yes to? But the same thing, I find myself saying yes to things, and I don't, when they're so aligned, I don't even think about it. It's just a yes. I figure the rest out later, or I'll ask for help after, whether, and I spoke on stage, and I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Want a booth? Yeah, sure. How do I sell myself? I don't really have a product, but I'll have a booth. Sure, why not? I'll bring nature down there. I'll bring myself, whatever. And so the most amazing things when you are scared, I say scared shitless, and you show up anyway, and saying yes when you don't know why, but you're being pulled to say yes. And, like, that is the interesting piece as you watch people come into your space. They've asked for help. They're like, what you do is amazing. I love your story. I love what you are offering people. It's very different. Like you said, the things that came into your space, you're like, oh, this is very different than anything I've ever done, but you're being pulled. And
Yep.
you're being pulled by that higher self. You're being pulled by, the journey you chose to be here doing. And all of this other stuff, like you said, was not working, and it's okay that it doesn't work. It doesn't make
Yeah,
it wrong.
it still served a purpose because
It served a purpose to get you where you are. And I think that's the other piece too. You must really see that in people as they go, oh, you mean I don't have to blame. I don't have to feel shame, fear, anger, resentment. Like you said, there's a piece of forgiveness and reconnection. Not you chose your family to get you where you are. And like you said, you were up in the realms that are, there's a lot up there. You're looking at, 5D and beyond, which is so interesting for people as you see them, their whole body changes, their energy changes, even the color in their face changes as they have this disconnect from what is no longer serving them, and this reconnection to themselves, their spirit. It must be such a beautiful, amazing thing to work.
Man, Raya, I mean, with timeline therapy, I'll speak a little bit to kind of what I do. Like we use
Yeah.
uh with the neuroplasticity you were speaking of, we do neuro-linguistic programming,
Hmm.
hypnotherapy, and then a really powerful modality called timeline therapy. And I kind of joke, I'm like, if NLP and hypnotherapy had a baby, it would be timeline therapy because
Yeah.
it's a conscious, unconscious integration. So like
Okay.
hypnotherapy is really into trance, right? And
Yep.
NLP is more about conscious, like what's work, like what programs are running. Let's do that. So that's why I feel like it's the connection. However, with timeline therapy, it's another thing we say. It's like the most amount of change with the least amount of work. Use timeline
Yes.
therapy because what it does is it we go through the top 7 negative emotions and we
Mhm.
release anything that hasn't been resolved. And but without getting too detailed into, because I just love teaching this stuff because it just fascinates me, is the unconscious mind always serves like its job is to keep us safe, right? That's its number one job, right? That's why like it helps us run our bodies, like, it'll drive your car for you if you want, like it'll do all the things. Except when we go, like for example, let me speak from a first responder perspective. Most our nature, our natural inkling when there's somebody like there's gunfire or something is to run. We have to go against that and go into the face of danger. And we have to not listen to the little, oh my gosh, I'm scared. I go, oh my God, what if I get killed? We can't listen to that. And our unconscious mind knows that. So what does it
Yes.
do? It suppresses it. It says, Billy can't deal with her fear right now. We'll deal with this later. Suppress, suppress, suppress. Right? Same thing happens out in the fields, out in the, like in the war zone and stuff, right? They got to go deal with their stuff. Why do you think they get PTSD when they come back? Because now
Yeah.
I'm in a safe area. Now
Yeah.
my unconscious mind knows I'm safe. Now the unconscious mind is presenting these memories, i.e.,
Mhm.
triggers. Because triggers for us is like, oh, that means we have something to work on. So
Yeah.
most people are like, no, I don't want to deal with the trigger, right? Shove it down, push it away, shove it down, push it away. That's just the way we work. Our
Yeah.
programming works right now. So when the trigger comes in and says, oh, we need to deal with this, all the
Mhm.
unconscious mind needs to do, first of all, we never need to talk about it because it already knows. It just means, what did you need to learn in that moment?
Oh, I love that.
Learning. What was
Yeah.
the positive learning that was for self, that for future and in the positive, right?
Hmm.
It could be a simple thing as I am safe. I am loved.
Yeah.
I am supported. All those learnings is what timeline therapy does. And I get chills because like
Yeah.
it's like
Uh,
it's truth bumps, right? I call them truth bumps.
yeah.
What we do is we take you back into the timeline to the first event because everything it goes off of like Gestalt therapy, which there's these little pearls of connection. So
Yeah.
it's the first time you felt anger. What was the first time, the root cause that when disconnected will cause all of them to like basically
Mhm.
disappear and unravel? And so again, we don't have to do it the hard way where like, okay, let's go deal with this event. Now, okay, you got that one. Okay, now let's go deal with this event. Let's go deal and work our ways back. We're like, let's just pull the root. We pull the root. Guess what? The rest of it all unravels. And for me,
Yeah.
I was like, I like to work smarter, not harder. The fact that I could heal trauma without talking about it because I've done enough talking, I was like,
Yeah.
sign me up. And that is what has made the most amount of shift. I'm diligent in doing, we do our monthly cleanups, like we call it like the timeline cleanups or
Hmm.
cleanups, whatever you want to do. We do it every month. We teach our students do this. Like think of this as your monthly therapy session, if you want to call it that, or your monthly self-care, hour. And don't let it go.
Yeah.
Right. You see my name, I call myself the brain trainer because it's like being a personal trainer for your brain. I
Yes.
can teach you the things and guide you there. That's why we call ourselves tour guides. Your unconscious mind is the coach. So your unconscious mind needs to go and do the exercises.
Hmm.
The gym, I can't do that for you because I'm not your unconscious mind. And so basically, we do the anger, we do sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, rage, shame. Those are the
Yeah.
7 top negative emotions. And if people have other specific ones, we can deal with that. And then your top 2 to 3 limiting beliefs. And all
Mhm.
of humanity, and this was a big one for me because it totally resonated. All of humanity shares one or a combination of these four: unlovable,
Mhm.
unworthy, not good enough, or powerless. Every other one comes off of there somewhere. Like if you have self-esteem, as you didn't feel powerful, or if confidence, you didn't feel, they all kind of stem from there. So again, go to the root cause. What's
Mhm.
the root cause? The one that if we pulled it, all those other behaviors, the belief systems would just undo themselves. And
Yeah.
that's why I love this work is because one session will change your life. It doesn't have to be hours and hours and hours. And, I mean, I'm new to the coaching world and I see a lot of coaches out there that are still using their conscious mind. And because they don't know, and it's not because they're doing it purposely. No one wants to do things the hard way.
Yeah.
And that's why we attract a lot of coaches because now it's like, what do you want to, first of all, we can guarantee our results. We're the only coaches in the world that can guarantee our results because guess what? We're dealing with neurology. We're
Yes.
changing the way how you behave. And you can, it's a very lucrative piece of that portion of the business side, which I think is why I hit 6 figures of income in my first year and I didn't even know it. Because I was
Yeah.
out there doing my thing and, and then got my financials and they're like, oh yeah, you hit 6 figures. I was like, wow. Again, when you get out of your own way, you do the things that you need to do, all that limiting beliefs as I can't be a businesswoman, I can't be successful, all this cancel, cancel, cancel. It's not for you. That's somebody else's nonsense that is there. And once you get aligned, and this is what I call true alignment, because that's another buzzword that's out there, like just be in alignment and people say the words, except they don't live the words. And that's the
Yeah.
difference with this work is that people are out there like, you got to align your life and you got to do this on, except their own life is full of shit, is just like a shit show.
Yeah.
And yet because there's a thing called perception is projection. So we
Yeah.
project on our things onto other people.
Yeah.
You get that true alignment that your conscious mind and your unconscious mind is in alignment. Guess what? Now you're tapped into your higher self.
Yes.
Now the doorway's open. Now you have the access to all those resources and access to all that wisdom. And that's the only way it comes through.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just sitting here having a fight with yourself the whole time.
Yeah. And I think that's where you're seeing people get super frustrated and burnt out and overwhelmed and going like, I know, like my heart's leading me, but why?
They're using
And it's
willpower.
yeah,
The conscious mind requires willpower, and that eventually will run out.
yeah. And then you're exhausted and you've hit a wall and it's like you've come up against it and you just slid down and you're a pile of like, I don't know what to do.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting because like you were mentioning in the beginning, you went through decades of, traditional therapy and psychotherapy and counseling and like all these things, which they all have their place. I mean, I'm traditionally trained in all the stuff, but
Great
I've gone,
for awareness. I
yeah,
always
right.
great for awareness doesn't
Yeah.
actually change anything.
No. So it's interesting because I always knew in me that I can have all this education and this stuff, but there's something else that's even bigger that's leading me in a completely other direction. And I've worked with, neurodiverse youth and children and adults, worked with all kinds of things from autism, Down syndrome to, ADHD and dyslexia and all these things, a lot of brain things. And I'm like, but people don't heal because we want to keep them linear. We want to keep them inside of a box. And I'm like, but they don't heal that way. They don't grow that way. We need to go outside. We need to be with animals. We need to let them expand and grow and blossom. Like you go water your garden, you don't tell your flower or your lettuce to grow a certain way. You water it, you talk to it, you nourish it, and it just grows beautifully.
Right.
So, but if you went out there and you were, okay, you have to do it my way and you've got, you put that energy into it, it's really not going to grow so well, right? So it's interesting to see how, both you and I comes from some traditional backgrounds and very structured backgrounds and have seen the expansion and the place of, you know, um, going out there and having that really beautiful, holistic, intuitive, very awakened lens, if you want to call it that, right? And we're like, oh, well, let's learn that. Oh, and like you said, things drop in. They're gonna drop in all the time, and you just embody them. You go with it, and you add it in, and you keep, just making this beautiful mix of things that you offer people. I love that because you know, you've lived so much experience, so people are like, oh, you had that training, you got, let your life was like this, and now you're here. Like
Totally.
I have gone
Who said
through,
it can't be done in one session?
right?
People are like, oh, well, well, who told you that? The
You're like,
media
I
told
did. I
you that.
went through it.
Well, the media, and it really comes down to money, right?
Yeah.
The world is all about money. So, one session of timeline therapy is not going to make you much money as 30 years of therapy for when it comes to a business standpoint. And again, if you're in the world in this for that, you're here to empower people, not create codependency, which a lot of people out there and a lot of coaches, unfortunately, are creating that codependency because it's like the person doesn't know how to be without that person. They need, that connection. I was like, no, we don't need that. We have everything that we need. All you need is a tour guide to help you get to where you need to go.
Yeah.
It just means a tour guide to help you access your unconscious mind because that's where all the wisdom is. That's where all the resources are.
Yeah.
Everything. That's why, you've seen my word magnificence and I
Yeah.
highlight the word essence is because
Yes.
essence is already there. It was set before we came here, right? That's
Yes.
my into this whole spiritual stuff a bit. Is that everything that you were meant to do, your highest potential is already written there. The blueprint's already there. And then you come here and it's like clean slate. And now I think of it like a video game. It's like you have to keep passing. Like, I listen to Dolores Cannon a lot and I love her work. And
Yeah.
it's like, you have to go through the grades. You can't go from grade 1 to grade 10. You have to
No.
learn and grow and evolve. And as the
Yeah.
more you do that, the more you will get to university. Where
Yeah.
most people are like, well, I want to get to university right now. And then they try to, then they fall in the ditch is what I say, right? I'm like, no, you need to go through the process because every level is teaching you something.
Yes.
Every incident, every traumatic thing was meant to teach you something. Every negative emotion is meant to teach you something. That's what timeline therapy is all about, is let's bring the learnings. Once the learnings are there, the unconscious mind is like, okay, I don't need this anymore. And it gets rid of it. Guess what? People don't get those triggers anymore.
No.
Like imagine living a trigger-free world.
Oh,
And now, I
I
mean,
yeah.
don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not speaking from like, triggers will still get me. Life will happen. It'll put me, we
Yeah.
call it victim island. It'll get me over here to victim island. Except now I have this shiny red speedboat that gets me over here to Solution City because I have tools. I have
Yeah.
techniques. I have ways of getting out of my own way and getting stuck in this instead of getting stuck in the story.
Yes.
Right? Because we can't control the outside world. We can only control how do we react to it. And if any negative thing that shows up in our life, if we can shift our mindset and say, what am I supposed to learn here?
Yes.
What is this? What is it trying to teach me? That's when we move over here and say, okay, we look at it from like, oh, this is not a negative thing. I'm meant to learn something.
Yeah.
And then take that learning and then do something with it. Don't just be like, well, okay, I learned that, I'm not good at whatever. No, it means you need to move somewhere else. That's all that means, right?
Mhm.
Like we say, failure is feedback. It's feedback for you.
Yeah.
Something didn't go right in your life. It's feedback. How do you learn from it, grow from it, and keep moving? And that's the whole purpose of life. That's evolution,
Yes.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Expansion, growth.
of our
Yeah.
soul. It's meant like That's the bigger picture, and that's where people need to realize is that it's not just this little 3D world that we live in. There's so much more to it. And if you could open your mind and just have that curiosity, and I always say like curious, like a curious mindset is like one of the best mindsets to have because it's like, huh, because it's all imagination anyway. So if I can imagine my life going horribly, I can imagine my life going beautifully too. It's a
Right.
choice at the end of the day.
It is.
You can
Yeah.
choose to stay on victim island, or you can make a choice to learn some skills to help you, get in tune with yourself and live over here in Solution City, where that's where your power is.
Yeah.
We've just lost our power, and we just have to find it again. And I love this work. I call it like it's what we're just doing. Teaching you how to get to Solution City and live there.
Yeah.
The restaurants are better over there. There's amusement parks and like properties, and
Yeah.
yeah.
All the fun stuff. Well, and I think being willing to be on the journey too, and to to take the path less traveled, to and to know, like yourself and myself, we're not there to tell you where to go or to what to do or how to do it. We're just merely going to walk with you, alongside you, and yeah, we'll be your guide and we'll show you things, and you will pick up what you're meant to pick up on that journey. Most people come to us, they're drawn to our energy, they're drawn to our work, they're drawn to our story, whatever it is. So there's obviously something in that soul contract that has brought people in, even you and I sitting down in this space. And who knows, I have a feeling, who knows, there's things happening in the future. But
Yeah.
coming into that space, we just trusted, we knew it's like, hey, your energy, we've got something to talk about, and when I seek a, I don't even seek out somebody, it just happens. It falls into my energetic space. I'm like, oh, cool, a new soul sister. I get to learn something. Or a
Yeah.
soul brother, it doesn't matter. It could be whichever, or it could be a child that pops in and goes, hey, like I want to learn from you. I've got, an old soul that wants to learn things. I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
And being open and being curious and playful, and I really take people a lot in getting in touch with some of their inner versions, their inner child, like that curiosity and playfulness we're born with, that we have in the really early years before it's changed. Tap into that, and that brings you into these places where you can experience some of the stuff that you and I are talking about, right? Because you have to be like, you're super, when you start talking about it, you get this really curious, playful energy about you. Why? Because it lights you up,
Totally.
right?
And that's what we should be doing. We should
Yeah.
be doing stuff that lights our soul up. That's the purpose.
Yes.
We shouldn't be
Yes.
doing things like my job by the last 10 years of it. It was like sucking my soul,
Yes.
literally. And
Yeah.
I say like timeline therapy saved my life
Yes.
on a physical level, on a spiritual and soulful level, because I did all the things, we're told check all the boxes. I went to school, I got married, I got the children, and I was miserable. My life was like, I'm so unfulfilled.
Yeah.
And then it was showing up in like toxic ways, right? Like that toxic energy that we carry because there's needs that are being unmet.
Yeah.
When those needs are being met, then you wake up and you just show up better. Because guess what? Now you're not in there like, oh, fuck, I don't want to go to work today, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to deal with this loser, and all this stuff. Now I'm like, no, I'm happily single. I'm calling in a partner now. However, I decided to leave my marriage. I decided to leave my family because it was the environment that was keeping me small. And
Yes.
now that I left that environment, that was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. And sometimes that's a problem. People don't want to make the hard decisions. They'd rather stay in what we call the comfortable suffering.
Yes.
And I made that decision because I knew, like, I started realizing it was affecting how I was momming. And that's my biggest privilege in life, is to be a mom. And so I
Mhm.
was like, no, I have to do something here because I don't want to take whatever is up here. And I still didn't understand what it was, but I knew it was affecting me in a way that I was taking it out on my kids. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't want to do that anymore.
No.
Like my kids are like, I'm a way better mom. They love this. Like my daughter just said, like she's 8. She's like, when I'm 13, I want to take the practitioner course. Good, great. I mean, you can't work as a practitioner until you're an adult, but yeah,
But
I've already teach them these things, right?
yeah.
Teach them about the unconscious mind. Oh, it's so funny. Love. I'm just going to show this. Like the things this girl says. Like she's another super old soul, right? Again, given to me because I needed to be able to hold that and be able
Yep.
to nurture that. And now I can. I wouldn't have been able to do that a few years ago or recognize it even. I'm doing her hair and I have this king size bed and she's like, Mommy, this is your side. And when your boyfriend comes, he'll be on that side. And I was like, oh, okay. When do you think my boyfriend's going to come? And she's like, Well, why don't you ask your unconscious mind?
Oh, I love it.
Great idea. I was like, okay, to your unconscious mind, when's my boyfriend coming? He's like, oh, maybe at the end of this year or beginning of next year. I was like, okay, cool. And she knows this, right? She's 8. And the other day she came home, she's like, Mommy, I tell everybody that you have a magic job. And I'm like, amazing, right? And she teaches this stuff to her friends. And I said, I'm like, you know how to do the sun strategy. It's estate management if you're in stinky mood. So if you find a friend that's in a stinky mood, just teach her the sun strategy and help her. And now we're empowering the next generation to know that they are in control of their mind, not
Yes.
the teacher, not your mom or your dad or the media or whatever. You are in control of your life and you can do whatever you want. And what I teach my kids now is your mission in life is to find your purpose. The thing that
Yes.
lights you up and that you want to wake up on chills, right?
I know.
The thing that
Full
lights
body.
you up because you don't have to go to school. And I would tell them, I'm like, if you don't want to go to university, don't. I hope you do because it'll teach you some other life skills. It's really good.
Mhm.
However, I want you to find what lights you up and wants you to wake up every morning and do the things. And as long as it helps other people,
Yeah.
as long as it helps the other people, because you want to help make the planet a better place than you left. And that's literally what I tell my kids now. I don't push them into anything, right? And as soon as I stop pushing, my daughter's like, yeah, I want to do the dance team. I want to join because it's a commitment, right? And I was like, if you're not going to be committed, then don't do it. She's like, you have a lot
Mhm.
of talent, and if you waste it, it's just going to go somewhere else. And so
Yeah.
that got put in. She's like, oh, I got talent. Yeah, I better use this. And she made the decision
Yeah.
to do that.
But you were able to empower her and hold that space for her to make that decision,
Exactly.
right? And I think that's the interesting part is with this work and where we find ourselves is um, that space for our children. Like my girls are now 16 and 20, and but still, it's like you didn't want to go down that path. Okay, so what is it telling you? Why is there, if you don't want to go into the trades, but now you want to go over into health, healthcare? Is that because you have that desire to help people? You want to, be by their bedside, make them laugh, make them feel good. You don't feel like being over there in that industry because even though you thought you were going to love it, but what is it? And just asking those questions to them, giving them the tools and helping empower them because it does help them to change and grow because they're here to be them, even though they're our children. But they're not really ours, but they came into the world, chose us as their parents for all the lessons and all the learning, just like we chose our parents,
Right?
right? And so I just love being able to hold that space of non-judgment, of encouragement, and support and love, that unconditional way of being, which I've had to unlearn,
Mhm.
as you've unlearned patterns as well. And it's just such the most beautiful thing to be able to sit in that space alongside of our children and watch and witness them, growing and evolving. I mean, that's huge for an 8-year-old. That's big,
Right.
right? And it's
She was 6, like, since I started this work,
yeah,
and I'm just like, I know she's gonna do amazing things in the world, and I know
yeah,
all these things had to happen, and I had
yeah,
to get into this work because the old Billy would have been helicopter mom and, "No, no, don't do this and don't do that and da, da, da," and controlling the situation because that's how I was raised. The program was control your kids, they have to obey you. You gotta make them do this, you gotta make them do that. Now I'm like, it's actually making it easier for me because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, okay. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. I will, teach them to be kind, compassionate human beings
of
and,
course.
like be successful and be, contributing to society. Whatever they choose to do, it's not like, I always say, I'm like, I will know that I did a good job if my kids still want me in their life when they're an adult. Because how many kids cannot handle their parents as their adults? Because they're still doing the controlling. They're
Yes.
allowing them to spread their wings, and that's why I made that really hard decision. I said I had to leave the family. And now
Yeah.
I'm bringing them back in on very strong boundaries, very strong terms, and that I'm not gonna allow that energy into my life anymore.
No.
I love you and I respect you. However, I will not take that type of behavior, and that's because now I know my self-worth. I know I'm not less than them. I know that, especially now that I'm becoming a parent. Now I'm like, you know what? I don't owe my kids anything. I have to raise them, but I don't owe them anything, and they don't owe me nothing.
Yes.
That they don't owe me anything. That's what we're taught is that, conditional love, like you must obey.
Hmm.
Must obey your family, right? Especially in our culture, especially girls in our culture.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I was raised with 2 brothers who the boys got to do anything, and I had to stay home and cook and clean and be the good girl at home, and I'm like, "Well, that sucks."
Yeah. What the heck?
All those things, right?
Yeah.
And it helped that piece of it because it made me stronger because it put that like, "Well, watch, I'll prove them wrong."
Hmm.
Likely why I chose policing because, oh, okay, well, I'm in the boys club and I can do all the things that boys do, right? I can, it again, everything lends serves a purpose. And I used to say like, oh man, I wish I knew this 20 years ago. And then I'm like, no, actually I didn't because I wouldn't have went through all those things I needed to go through. I wouldn't have been able to do this work as powerfully as I do it now had I not done all those other things. And, I'm turning 50 this year and I'm like, I got another, I think I'm going to live to 111. That's the number I have. I got another 61 years to go. So I got more than half my life to now do
Perfect.
this work and make that change. And again, put that into the next generation and so on and so on and so on. And that's really what leaving the planet better is. Right.
Cool. Well, you're going to be welcome to the 50 club too. I just turned 50 as well. A
Oh, yeah.
couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago.
It's so funny,
Yeah.
right? When I turned 40, I wasn't happy about it because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm turning 40. I've never been more excited to turn a decade older. Because before it would have been like, oh my gosh, you're 50. Like you're closer to being a senior than you are anything. Now I'm like, I feel like I'm aging backwards.
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
feel like mentally, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. Like when
Right.
you just graduated high school and now like the world is your oyster and you can go and do whatever you want. Like that's where I'm at now. I feel that. Maybe not physically because my body doesn't respond as quick as I used.
Yeah.
I respect that because, I've had 2 kids and, I still love my body for what it's done for me so far.
It takes you on the journey that you're on, right? So
And that's the
when
other
it,
thing, that we can heal our physical bodies too when we heal our spiritual, mental, emotional bodies,
yes.
not
Yes.
just here. And that's
Yeah.
the other really big mind shift, which
Yes.
again, big pharma, the media doesn't like people to know because
No.
they want people to think, oh, if something's wrong with me, I have to go to the doctor and go get put on some medication. And it's like, no, you don't. Your body is meant to heal itself. There's
Mhm.
tons of documentaries out there about that.
Oh, there's so much research and amazing documentaries. And I think that, when we really tap into that piece of that's a huge deep piece of the unconscious mind of the higher self. And giving yourself that power back and that strength and that courage back to say, you know what? Actually, yeah, I can heal myself by using all these really amazing tools. I can, reach out to somebody. I can go through a hypnotherapy session. I can do the NLP. I can go out into nature. I can do some Reiki. Like, I mean, it's just endless, right? And you develop this beautiful team of people that you can reach out to, but you also develop this amazing toolbox
Yeah.
that is a revolving toolbox because you don't have to keep all the same ones. Some might work for a little while, then you're going to meet a new person and add something new in, and on and on and on. And so it's the same thing with all the different therapies, going away from that very rigid, structured environment into something that is what is happening in the world right now. We're stepping away from that and out into, that stuff was there for us many, many, many hundreds and thousands of years ago. We're just coming full circle back around to reconnecting to those roots and to that ancient knowledge and the wisdom that's already there. And we're carrying it as well, pieces of it. So it's really interesting and fascinating to watch all of those pieces unravel and come back.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like,
it's
oh,
when
you know it. Yeah.
when it's this age of Aquarius, right? I didn't really understand what that meant. It's like now it's like we're able to be able to hear it now.
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah,
before we
exactly.
wouldn't have been able to hear it, just went over, right? It just
Yeah.
goes when you're out the other. Whereas now, the shift, like I'm studying astrology now too, the way the planets are aligning, and like everyone's saying, 2025 is this year of just getting rid finally of all the shit, like just dropping the bag of rocks you've been carrying and finally aligning with your soul's path. And there's so much work around that that's happening in the world. And where people literally are having this awakening, right? And
Hmm.
people think of an awakening as this like, whoa, come to Jesus moment. And in a
Yeah.
way, it's just it's one little shift of waking up to who you are
Yeah.
instead of being asleep to who you are. Because that's what, in the mystics, the mystery schools, they say, like people are floating face down in the river of forgetfulness. And us, our job as light workers is to flip them over and
Yeah.
up and say, hey, Remember who you are. That's why I say, like, let's remember your magnificence. It's there. It's just been
Yes.
dormant because all this shit's been put on top of it. So let's open it up, get rid of all the crap, and remember who you are because it's all there for you. And
Yeah.
that's why there's a lot of this awakening happening on the planet because people are like, and I think COVID, and everything happens for a reason. COVID was a nice reset. It was a good wake up call for everybody to be like, I don't even like this marriage. I don't like this job. I don't like this body. Like, I need to change something. And when
Yeah.
they're ready to make that decision to change, all it is a decision. It's a
Hmm.
choice to be like, no, I'm not going to go back that way. I'm going to go in this direction now.
Yeah.
What do I need?
Yeah. And you're seeing it just, it's more and more and more. Because we used to think, you'd stay in this line of work or in this job, you're going to stay there till retirement. You're going to do one thing. You're going to have one career. Now it's like, actually, I don't have to. No, I don't. Sure, if that served a purpose. Thank you very much. I'm going over here, polar opposite direction into another door. Oh, another door. Here's another one. And I think that, you know, that is really amazing to see people waking up to those possibilities, those endless possibilities. They're all there. They're just waiting for you to try the door and see if it opens and be peek inside and just see what's there.
That's the piece that people are like, well, no, it's not for me. That's for her. Right. And that's the belief system again.
Yes.
And what we always tell people is like, just be aware of how you're talking to yourself. Just
Yeah.
bring that to awareness first. Because once you have the awareness, then you can make the choice. If people don't even have the awareness that, oh, I'm thinking this way,
Mhm.
they change anything.
Yeah.
And that was the big piece for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was talking to myself that negatively so much. Because, right, there's one tool that we do is like every time you hear a negative thought in your mind, put up a stop sign. And then we say, like, how many times did you put the stop sign up? I'm like, oh, a lot. And
Yeah.
now I don't because now I recognize I'm like, no, I'm not even going to let that go that way. I'm going to, because thoughts are energy. That's
Yes.
a really big piece that we teach is that it comes down to your thought process. Are you
Yeah.
thinking of the horror show or are you thinking of the love story? Because it's a choice. 100%. And the only choice you can do that because the only person that has control of your thoughts is you.
Yeah.
And that's again the empowerment piece. Bring it to awareness. What's your thought process? What movie is playing in the screen? Is it the horror show? Or are you
Yeah.
thinking, oh, that's what we do. We're starting a podcast now soon, and we're going to be doing demos on the anxiety protocol. We can get rid of your anxiety like that. All you got to do is clear the screen, put the love story back up,
Mhm.
change the movie on the screen, and that's literally as easy as it can be. Because right
Mhm.
now your thought process is again, and that's the whole mind body connection. You're thinking of a horror show. Guess what? Those chemicals are being released. The
Yeah.
adrenaline, the cortisol. You start thinking of the love story. Guess what? Now the serotonin, now the oxytocin, all those good hormones are getting released. So
Mhm.
I feel better. So I'm like, hey,
Yep.
it's feeling good. What are you thinking about? Oh yeah, I was thinking about this traumatic thing that happened. Okay, well, shift your mind over here. Think of this. You're like, oh yeah, it's gone. Literally, that's the anxiety protocol. What are
Yeah.
you worried about? Okay, think, we get them to float out on their timeline and we say, okay, think about now think about the successful completion. What is the
Mhm.
successful completion of whatever this thing you're worried about? What does it look like? And they
Yeah.
look toward now and they're like, where's the anxiety? I'm like, oh yeah, it's gone. Of course, because every emotion itself also serves a purpose.
Yep. It does. It sure does.
Anxiety is like I call the rumble strips of your mind.
Hmm.
You've ever driven on the on the highway and you hit the rumble strips and it's like, whoa, you pay attention. Same thing.
Yeah.
Conscious mind is like, pay attention. You're
Hmm.
focusing on what you don't want instead of what you do want.
Yeah.
It serves. So as soon as you get it focusing on it once, it's like, job done. See you later. Gone.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It's that easy when people are getting caught up and put on medication and realizing all these things. Oh, because I have anxiety. Well, you have anxiety because you're not paying attention to your thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
Pay attention to your thoughts. The anxiety will go away. It's there to serve a purpose. You're not paying
Yeah. And I think we really, we're kind of um, taught to embody, okay, well, I have anxiety. I mean, yeah, I have a dyslexic brain and ADHD, but it's either a superpower or it's something I go, oh, I have that. But what it's shown me is that I do have a different ability to see the world. I can share my work in a very different way. I don't have to sit down and do it a certain way. I am not a person who fits in a box. And that part of me, that piece of me,
Yeah.
is not a diagnosis or a label or any of those things. It's just a tool to go, hey, have you ever
Different
thought
strategy.
of this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Exactly.
and I love that. And it's because I was taught, that I've got the DSM-5 and I've got to go through all the things and here's all the diagnosis and here's all the labels and the pieces. And I'm like, yes, you can tell me that. I mean, it helps me to understand why my brain was the way it was in school and why I had a tough time and all the things. But it also makes me understand why I'm super multi passionate. I can put myself in all these rooms and all these directions and all these places because my brain allows me to do that. And that is also a superpower, right? And being dyslexic allows me to see things that not everybody else sees,
Yeah.
right? I see it in a very different way and I love that because it's my own lens. And so I can encourage other people who, hit that wall of frustration and go, "Oh my god, like, well, I can't because I have this and I have that." And it's like, actually you don't have it.
I know.
How do you disconnect from that? But it is like you said, it's very ingrained and it's a belief system that, if you don't get diagnosed, then you won't be able to do this and you can't do this and you can't do that and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. Well, okay, if you don't learn the traditional way, what way do you learn? How do
And
you learn?
hit it on the head there, right? It's just different learning strategies.
Yes.
We have strategies for everything, and learning is one of them.
Mhm.
And I know you said that you work with neurodiverse. We don't believe in labels in what we do. Like we don't like
Yeah.
dyslexia doesn't mean anything. It just means you see things differently, and we
Yeah.
just have to know what that is. And like you can still do everything. It's just you have to look at it from a different perspective. You're using your visuals as opposed to like your kinesthetics, or using your feeling as opposed to your visual. And that piece of it is like you said, your superpower, and it's not something to be labeled and now put you in a box and put you in victim island, because I see it in my kids schools, right? There's so many like kids that are labeled ADHD or autistic or dyslexic, and now the, like they need, I guess, yes, they need the support, is because not every kid learns the same, nor do we.
And we're trying to do this to make them learn
Exactly.
the same. It's
And
like,
yet,
no, you have to fit here.
and we're not there yet to change the cool school system. Hopefully, like we're training teachers, and the teachers, like one of them, she's amazing. She's like, I teach the kids sun strategy, grade 2 and 3. And
Yeah.
they're allowing to they're when the kids can't manage because they're getting frustrated because they're not able to learn the way they're being told to learn. So of course they're going to get frustrated.
I did. I get it.
Exactly. And so
Right.
their behavior they have behavior issues. No, absolutely not. They don't. It's just the environment is not allowing for them to grow in the way that they need to grow. So if we can teach them some skills and say, hey, okay, I see that you're frustrated. Let's not like knock you down over that or tell you you can't feel that. Let's give you some tools to manage your state so then we can shift it and maybe learn in a different way. I mean, there's so like I could go off on this topic for
Oh,
I don't like labels, and I
yeah.
don't believe in labels, and I think every person is brilliant in the way that they are.
Yeah.
We can't fit people into a box, and of course the
No.
system, again, it's just the system, right? It's all a system, and they want us to be plugged into the system, and majority of the people do that
Yeah.
because the program runs that, okay, I need to do it this way.
Yeah.
I need to do it this way. And then
Yeah.
we handicap our children because we tell them, oh, you have a learning disability. No, they don't.
Yeah.
They're learning fine. They learned how to walk. They learned how to talk. They know how to learn.
Yeah. They just learning
They
their
don't
own
know
way.
how to learn like 1 + 1 = 2 because their brain doesn't work like that. But they know how to learn. They don't have a disability. They have, I don't even like a,
Different abilities.
a diverse way of learning. That's why
Yeah.
it's called neurodiversity, is because your
Yeah.
brain just works in different ways.
Yeah.
Different doesn't mean bad. And that's so much of the messaging out there that if you're different, you're bad. It's like, no. I tell my kids all the time. I call them weirdos all the time. And I tell them being weird is good.
Yeah.
I like being weird.
Yeah.
I want to be weird. And I was always a lot of them, I'm sure you can speak to this too. How many of us were the black sheeps of our family?
Yeah.
Right? Because the black sheeps were trying to be put in a box, and we're like, no, but wait, that's not how I live.
Yeah.
And then we were all, and this whole spiritual stuff is like, now what was pushed down? All your wisdom, your knowledge, those like, that sacred inner wisdom was pushed down. What now is safe enough for it to be come up?
Yeah.
Whether it was this lifetime or like, like the witches were burned at the stake. And so that, that wisdom got pushed down. Those
Oh
energies
yeah.
pushed down.
Yeah.
Now you can bring those back online because the universe is now like, here, we're still here. Do you want to tap into this wisdom? Cool. Let's do
Yeah.
this. 'Cause I love this work because the more I tap into it, the more I'm like, oh, and I have this skill too. And oh my God, this is so fun.
Yeah. Exactly.
You
It's
need
so
to remember who you are.
It's well, and like you said, that's what we came here to do, is to remember who we are.
Yep.
We filled out all the paperwork up there and then in the higher realms, and then it's like, oh, but now you have to figure out what you signed up for,
Exactly.
and
Contribution.
so
Purpose.
it's it's that journey to finding that deep purpose. And it looks so unique and different for each person who's on that journey, because we're meant to find it, find those connections when we find them. We can't force it. We can't try to bypass it, like you said before. We can't skip ahead and go, I'm going to go from grade 2 to university. Like, that doesn't work that way.
You gotta go through elementary, you gotta go through high school, then you can get to university, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's really important for us to realize that. And I think that's kind of humbling in a way to know, you know what, we're not going to skip the steps. We're just going to enjoy the journey, and we're going to be open to the journey and what that looks like. And, and it does mean pushing, some people to the side for a while, and that's okay too. And it does, like you said, it doesn't mean you don't love them, doesn't mean that they're, not there. But in order for you to really find out that most pure, authentic, real, vulnerable person, human soul, spirit that you are, we have to do that. And that's where it's nice to have a community that understands that process and
We're
to have that support.
huge proponents of community, like, we have our team
Yeah.
like community, and we stay plugged in
Yeah.
because there can be rough at times,
Hmm.
and it's a lot easier to bring your vibration down than it is to lift it up, and sometimes you want your community to help lift it up because you go out there and you're like, "Oh, man, I got my ass kicked today," right?
Yeah.
I just, like, life kicked my ass today. And then
Yeah.
I talked to my partner and or my business partner, and I talked to, like, my community, and I'm like, "Hey, like, I have this limiting belief coming up. Can we just jump online and do a quick timeline therapy session and get rid of it? Boom, done. Clear it." Instead of hanging
Yes.
on to it.
Yes.
It's just like, as things come up, let's clear it. As things come up, let's clear it so that we can keep moving forward. Because don't get stuck. There's no need for it. We got too much work to do.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so the quicker that we can kind of go through those things with the right support and the right, safe environment to do that, it's going to really just escalate us in the work that we're doing and the purpose that we are have found that we're here for, right? And I think that's oh, it's just so beautiful. You can just, you feel the energy of the space. You can feel the shifting, you feel all of that, and we get to feel it tenfold when we're working with people. We're in groups, we're at retreat, we're training, we're traveling, which you do a lot of that too. So you just get to experience all these environments, and hold this most sacred, amazing space for people to come in and just go, hey, I'm here,
Yeah.
please help me. I would like to learn, and I'm curious, and I have the sense of wonder, and I want to be all that I am meant to be in this space, so that I can now go out and help people and do the things, whether, whatever that looks like for them, you
I always,
know.
if even your audience or whoever's going to listen to this, if one thing resonated
Hmm.
from something that we said,
Yeah.
is the universe saying, go in that direction and follow it.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
one thing you're like, huh, never thought of it that way, go in that direction. And that will find you the answers that you're looking for. Because sometimes we don't even know what we're looking for. However, if
Mhm.
something shifted, you're like, oh, that really resonated with me. That's because that frequency was the same. It means keep going in that direction.
Yeah.
I always tell people that, because we're not here to convince people to come. We're not here to drag people by all means, because that's exhausting. It's
Yeah.
literally like, as light workers, we're here to hold up the light and say, hey, there's an easier way. I
Yes.
I can light the path for you, except you're the one who's gonna have to walk. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about this work, is that that's what we're inviting people to,
Hmm.
and empowering them to do the work, to take the steps. And that it's not like people say all the time, Billy, my life changed. I'm like, I didn't do anything. You trusted your unconscious mind. I simply was the tour guide that
Yeah.
allowed your unconscious mind to go where it needed to go to heal the things it needed to heal, because it knows. And now
Hmm.
it's like, okay, good. Now we can move forward. Let's bring in some resources. Let's
Yeah.
bring in some the wisdom. And now let's get you on your path. It's
Yeah.
waiting, literally waiting. The universe is waiting to serve. That's what I tell
Yeah.
people all the time. Like, trust me, I've seen it. I've been experienced. Like, my life
Yeah.
completely shifted. So I'm
Well,
like,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
It's just, well, and I think the amazing thing is like you said, the universe is waiting. The invitation has already been given to you. It's just whether or not when you're ready to use that invitation and put it in, the place where you take it to that place where it resonates, and
Yeah.
it really is, and it is that one thing, it's that one moment where you're like, "Oh, that came in, that's interesting. What does that got for me? Let's be curious, and let's kind of peel back the layers of the onion and go in that direction." So leaving people with what is, so if somebody's going, oh, like I really resonate with everything that's being said, and I want to try one thing, or I want to have one moment. I know you offer a discovery call, so if somebody's really interested, they can hop on a 30-minute call with you and just kind of dive it, see if it's a good fit, if it's if there's something, there's that little seed that we sprinkled for them. But what if they're, sitting here with all this information, and I know you have so many tools on all your spaces where you are, and we'll share that. But what if, what can they go away with today that will really empower them to have that invitation and actually use that invitation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I'm just going to go back to, if something resonated, do something, take action. Whether that is with me or with you or someone else, or there's somebody else in your life that you're like, I've been wanting to call this person because something they said really resonated. Take the action, because the universe will respond to that.
Yes.
It's not like it starts with the thought process, and it's like, okay, if something resonated with me, I'm thinking about it. Yes, I need to take action. And whether it's booking a discovery call, or, we do monthly webinars called Meet Your Unconscious Mind, literally meet and
Yeah.
greet. How about you come get to know what your unconscious mind works? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's the first step. You got to
Yeah.
actually know how it works. And so we do free webinars once a month. We have a masterclass coming up in July called Amplify Your Mind. It takes us through the whole journey of going from, pain to purpose to profit. That's July 26th, 27th. And we're always doing things, right? And we're
Yeah.
doing a podcast. And again, it's just take action. If something in your life is not where you want it to be, don't settle.
Yes.
Just know that when people say, well, how do I know when I'm ready? I'm like, you're ready when you decide to be. That's it.
Yeah.
One decision. You're one decision away from a completely different life.
Yeah.
And make that decision, and then take the next most aligned, most act like, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Most powerful action you can take.
Mhm.
Could be just even journaling.
Yeah.
It could be making one phone call, but do something.
Yes.
You do something, it now sets off another set of like waves out into the universe.
Yeah.
Because it starts with that with everybody. It's not like you're going to be here from nowhere to be all of a sudden you're enlightened and spiritual. That doesn't happen, right? When there's
No.
crazy enlightenment experiences, but just take one step, and then
Mhm.
another step, and then another step, and then another step. And
Yeah.
then soon enough, your life will be completely different.
Well, I mean, you don't sit at the bottom of this massive mountain that you want to climb and do it in one step. You meander the journey all the way, looking at the
As you
scenery,
eat an elephant, you
Yeah.
eat bite at a time, right?
Yeah.
That's where people get overwhelmed. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much to know. When I first started, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a lot to learn. And instead of me getting overwhelmed about it, I got excited about it. And I told myself,
Yes.
I'm not going to get overwhelmed, because I know, just like when I start kindergarten, I can't be up here.
Yeah.
Right? I use the analogy of driving all the time. The first time I got behind the wheel, I'm like white knuckling, like, oh my gosh, 10 and 2 and shoulder check and gas. And now I can sit there with one hand and just be like, music on, talking to a friend, listening to pot. And now it's because my unconscious mind does it for me.
Yes.
So, but it has to go through that learning, those stages of learning, and that's where most people want to just get there, and
Yep.
that's where people fail, because then oh my gosh, it wasn't meant to be. No, that's just drama. Take one step at a time, one little action step at a time, and if it feels good, keep doing it. If it doesn't
Yeah.
feel good, change the direction.
So basically, at the end of the day, take the step, and try the doorknob, open the door, take a peek in, give it a try,
You don't know
and
what you don't know.
right.
When I first heard that term, I thought it was the dumbest thing I ever heard, and now I'm like, oh my god. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
Well, and we're going to be forever students. It doesn't matter what we're learning, what we're doing. We're always growing. We're always expanding. We're always looking in. You and I will be doing that until we don't have a pulse anymore.
And
Right.
the powerful piece, which again, this takes some some work to put your mind around. You are more than you can think.
Yeah.
When I first heard that too, I was like, what do you mean I'm more than I can think? You can't, there's more, you can't be as big as you can possibly be, because you can't think that. Because again, you're just using your thinking mind.
Yeah.
Your unconscious mind and higher self know all that.
Yeah.
But again, it's about expanding and being like, well, what if? What if I could this? I never thought I could be financially free. I thought I was going to be working the rest of my life. And
Mhm,
yet I was sitting on financial freedom, didn't even know it.
mhm.
Move some things around, learn some things, take some
Yeah,
action steps, learn this, like find the gap in the skills that you need in order to get you over to the other side.
yeah.
And not just, we call it shelf development. Take a course and then go put it on the shelf. No, it's a skill
Use it.
development. You have
Yeah,
to apply it and in using it. And that's why we call the three requisites of change. First, clear the past, right? Because that's what's going to help you get out of your own head. Then, focus on what you want and then take
mhm.
action in that direction.
Perfect.
Have to have those three things.
Yeah, amazing. I just love it. There's so much to learn. I'm sure I have about 300 more questions, but it's just beautiful. I think we've given people permission to take that action, to take that baby step, to, be curious and go forward and see what unfolds on that path and that journey, and I think that that's the fun part. That's
Yes.
the really fun part is that, we get to find out what is on that path and what's on that journey for us because we know we're being drawn and we're being pulled by so many things, right? So
The F word, Raya, fun. Oh my God.
I know, right? Yeah,
You actually
exactly.
have a fun life.
Right? You can. And I think it's like there's just like you said, there's so many things to let go of and to unprogram and just say, I don't want to be plugged into that socket anymore. I'm going to plug into something else.
Right.
Like let's just do that. And we it is that simple. It
Yep.
is that simple. We make it complicated. The universe around us makes it complicated. All the stuff we're being fed at 3 million miles a minute is making it complicated. It's kind of clouding that until we go, no, you don't have to do that. I'm going to press pause because over here, I'm going to wander through that wildflower field and I'm going to look at the mountains and I'm going to get my clarity over here. Because we have that much control. If you don't want to drive in rush hour traffic, then don't drive in rush hour traffic. Wait until it slows down, until it's easier, and then go out, right? Take a back road, take a
There's
different turn.
so many things people can do.
Oh,
It's a matter,
yeah,
it's a matter of doing it,
it
right?
is.
Not just thinking.
So I'm going to share all of the great, amazing spaces where people can find you. And they can kind of get to know all of the work that you're doing and all of these pieces. And if they want to join and they want to do all these things, they can do that. So I will share that as well in the notes for everybody. And what is one word that you would leave them with today?
Two,
Two.
be curious.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
Stay curious.
Stay curious, be curious, both. Yeah.
Be curious, stay curious.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you,
amazing.
Raya. Oh my gosh, I
I
got
love it.
conversation and yeah, I could do this all day, every day. And I am going to do it all day, every day because I'm going to just never stop talking about how great this work is.
It's perfect. I love it.
For having me.
Thank you.